Continuing from the previous episode 1675. This guy is really stupid. Seeing the undead ghost sparrow appearing in midair with its real body, constantly neutralizing the power of the four flames, waiting for an opportunity to devour it, Xiao Yan suddenly stopped quietly and smiled. The power of the holy flame is too destructive. If there is no mysterious power of Fenju, even Xiao Yan would not dare to swallow it rashly. This move of the King of Immortal Nether Sparrow is undoubtedly a self-destruction. Even if it is guarded by its holy flame, the noble status of the spirit beast cannot be safe. After all, this is not an ordinary flame, but a holy flame. But don't underestimate the power of Shengen Ziwo. If it doesn't burn Ju, even if it swallows Ziwo, it will still be seriously injured, so Xiao Yan knew this from the beginning, so he didn't have a war with the King of the Undead Nether Sparrow. Xiao Yan also has a certain degree of certainty to defeat this guy, but the price is obviously too heavy. Boom! In the sky, on the head of the King of Undead Sparrows, four flames jumped rapidly, waiting for an opportunity to merge, but every collision between the flames would severely damage the huge body of the King of Undying Sparrows, Btth2. This guy is really tyrannical and patient. Looking at the shocking wound, traces of gray blood continued to spill out. Xiao Yan couldn't help saying, even if it devours the holy flame fire, the non-aggression power between the four fires is enough to seriously injure him. After a few breaths, the entire void was filled with the roar of the King of Undead Nether Sparrows, and the four groups of fire had already burned and seriously injured this guardian spirit beast as strong as the 6-star fighting immortal. It's almost there. I hope that with this guy, I can take my fighting spirit to a higher level. Looking at the undead King of the Undead in front of him, Xiao Yan did not act rashly, but waited quietly. Only this guy was critically ill now is the best chance to get out. Damn, this king is a dignified 6-star fighting immortal. How can I help you with a few flames? At that time, the immortal ghost suddenly recoiled, and the dazzling gray energy squirmed, overwhelming the sky and covering the entire void. The 6-star Dushan level powerhouse is indeed well deserved, and he is also the guardian spirit beast of the undead fire. Maybe he has been contaminated with a lot of the power of the undead fire. The undead fire is an existence known as immortality and immortality. Watching the momentum continue to surge the undead King of the Underworld Sparrow, Xiao Yan analyzed with great interest. Boom! With a sound, in the sky, the four flames were condensed into a space without tremors by this guy, trying to inhale it with extremely terrifying suction, thereby compressing it. However, the four flames are not rocks that can be easily captured. The direct and dazzling power suddenly spreads out. The first is the Fireheart Heavenly Rock. The dazzling khaki flames actually formed pieces of indestructible khaki rocks around it. The flames inside the rocks were ready to go, as if they would launch the most dazzling attack. Furthermore, there are ethereal ice flames, directly around his body, a circle of azure blue water curtains like waves, bursting out. The second is the Ghost Face and Soul Flame. A trace of gloomy ghost energy permeates out, and the source of the flame stands in it, as if it is a cyan flame that has fallen into the darkness. As for the gray undead fire, it turned into a ferocious snakehead and roared at it. Come here for this king. The King of Undead Nether Sparrow snorted coldly, and the monstrous suction directly absorbed it, and then four flames were directly absorbed into the abdomen. This guy. Seeing this scene, Xiao Yan was also unable to shake his head. Such a cruel approach was naturally self-defeating. Boom, boom, boom. As soon as the four flames entered the body, an extremely hot wave of fire suddenly flew out of the body of the King of the Undead Nether Sparrow. The degree of terror made his bird pupils shrink tightly. Hey! After a while, four flames flowed all over his body in an instant, and these flames were originally the fire of the holy flame, and now they are flowing in the body of the King of the Undead Nether Sparrow without any protection. Stand up! Wherever the holy flame passed, there were bloodstains everywhere. Countless meridians were directly burned by the four flames and turned into nothingness, and even the four flames were still fighting in his body, causing this guy to die. Heart-piercing roars emerged, and bloodshot bursts appeared in the pupils of this behemoth, which was obviously extremely painful. Forget it, I'll help you. Seeing this, Xiao Yan couldn't bear it, and immediately smiled. Little chops, hurry up and help me. After this is done, The fire of immortality is yours. Everything here is yours." At that time, the king of immortal sparrows couldn't help roaring. The strength, I am afraid it will not last long, watching Xiao Yan's figure attack, cannot help but ecstatic. Holy flame! Xiao Yan was unmoved, and his figure approached him slightly, because he knew that if he hadn't shown his weakness and offered up the 3 fireworks, adding the prestige of the 3-color half-Buddha angry fire lotus, I am afraid that the king of immortal nether sparrow will directly obliterate himself, because of the shock of the 3 holy flames. This guy is quite afraid of Xiao Yan. "Come on, I'll save you from this kind of pain." Xiao Yan just finished speaking. The phantom of the undead nether sparrow's fighting soul that was severely injured all over his body appeared. Bastard asterisk asterisk bastard. Looking at Xiao Yan's scene, the king of the undead sparrow also understood that he was tricked by this guy, and immediately roared, but just wanted to obliterate Xiao Yan, to find that his body had been completely destroyed by 4 flames. Destruction, even a trace of vindictiveness can't be mobilized. Today's self is no different from a weak woman who has no power to tie a chicken to the slaughter. "Come here for me." Seeing this, Xiao Yan nodded suddenly, and immediately grabbed the huge body of the king of undead nether sparrow with the package of 3 holy flames in his palm. The palm contained the origin of the 3 holy flames. The power is enough to easily apologize to the king of the underworld sparrows and cause real damage. Humble human beings, even if they fall, this king will not make you feel better. Immortal torch. With a wild laughter, a monstrous gray flame spread out, and immediately rendered this space completely. Self-destruction? You don't have this chance. The source of the fighting soul. Come out to me. Seeing this, Xiao Yan snorted coldly, and grabbed him directly with his palm. Wing Om. The 4 flames in his body were encircling and suppressing him. In addition to the power of Xiao Yan's 3 holy flames, the origin of this guy was easily pulled out by Xiao Yan. On top of the huge body of 1,000 feet, there was a trace of a worm-like transparent bird shadow, which was directly pulled out by Xiao Yan from the inside of the huge body. This thing is its origin and the so-called essence. Devouring me. I want to see, with the power of the origin of the undead king of the underworld sparrow, whether it can make the fighting spirit go further. As soon as the voice fell, the pure and transparent version of the tiny fire sparrow was directly swallowed by Xiao Yan, and at the same time, the undead ghost bird, which had already been covered with a serious injury, was like bamboo shoots after a rain, gradually recovering, and even the breath was slowly increasing. And this void became quiet for a while. Only the spirit body of the undead king of the undead sparrow, and Xiao Yan, who sat cross-legged in the void and devoured the evolutionary fighting spirit, were even invisible at the very end. In the huge pit at the bottom, a trace of strange fluctuations continued to tremble. Continuing from the previous episode 1676. Boom! Xiao Yan sat quietly in the void, but his body was rolling violently, and the undead ghost fighting spirit on the surface of his body, from the most illusory level, slowly became more and more solid. Even above its illusory shadow, a gray pattern is looming, and it is this pattern that pushes its breadth to the highest point. After a while, Xiao Yan was surrounded by 3 flames. The fire-red great heavenly seed flame, the earthy yellow fire heart heavenly rock, and the blue-colored ghost face soul flame. As for Mu Yingying's flame, Xiao Yan rarely used it. This guy actually not only cultivates the soul clone, but also cultivates the fighting spirit. Then if the strength breaks through the 5-star fighting immortal, wouldn't there be a realm? In the dark, the black evil dragon wolf said with black lines. Soul avatar, the cultivation of fighting soul, but it takes a lot of energy, but human energy is limited, greedy cannot chew. However, if you can multitask and practice in this way, the stronger your strength, the more your combat power will increase by geometric multiples. Boom! Xiao Yan's hands were constantly changing with some ancient patterns, and then the sparrow shadow, which was as arrogant as a 6-star fighting immortal, was slowly absorbed by Xiao Yan and poured into the fighting spirit. There seems to be something, slowly creeping. Damn, I can't hold it anymore. Xiao Yan noticed that something on his back was about to move, and immediately a burst of itch came, and he couldn't help roaring. Bang bang bang. With a sound, there was a sudden movement on the shoulders behind Xiao Yan, and then a pair of cyan wings emerged. This is... Xiao Yan noticed the change and immediately opened his eyes. It is said that the immortal ghost fighting soul is a special holy spirit born from the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. After swallowing it, there is a very weak chance to give birth to a special kind of wings called ghost wings. Just when Xiaoyan was puzzled, he covered the undead ghost fighting spirit on Xiaoyan's body trembled slightly, and a message entered Xiaoyan's mind. Dark Wing? This thing should be like the Lord of Fire Guards. It is the key to entering the underworld. It seems that I have to make time to go to the underworld. Xiaoyan gently touched the silver-white wings of dozens of meters behind him, and couldn't help muttering. According to what his teacher, the Master of Soul Eater, said, the underworld should have a lot to do with the Xiao clan. Now that he has Nether Wing and the Lord of Fire Guard, he must go there once. Mingyi can fly in the underworld, and usually, the speed brought by these wings is outrageous. After all, it is the product of the undead king of the underworld. Xiaoyan smiled contentedly. Next, it's time for evolution. I hope you won't let me down. As soon as the voice fell, the huge wings were put away in an instant. It's better to use this thing less, and then stared at the figure of the giant sparrow beside him. Hot Road. Just devoured the origin of this guy, just to repair the fighting spirit, and now devouring this guy's body is enough to make the undead ghost truly evolve. The undead Minkyu was already a fighting spirit at the pinnacle level of the Earth grade. If it was evolving and growing into a heavenly grade, then the assistance would probably not be much weaker than the realm. Hoo, let's start. After a while, the three flames around Xiaoyan's body completely entangled the behemoth and burned it completely. Wing Om. Although the origin of the undying Nether Sparrow King was swallowed up by Xiaoyan, this body was also the body of a dignified 6-star fighting immortal spirit beast. Suddenly, violent fluctuations burst forth. Since it's something that's already dead, if you don't hold back, you can capture it. A shock emerged from the corner of Xiaoyan's mouth, and the overwhelming flames swept out, easily engulfing it and igniting it. Zhu! Following Xiaoyan's violent holy flame fire, this behemoth was also continuously decomposed and melted by Xiaoyan, turning into traces of gray energy, which poured into the hot pot on Xiaoyan's body. Boom! With such a huge energy infusion, the fighting spirit actually burst out with a burst of extremely dazzling energy, and then the entire body swelled violently, as if it would explode at any time. Bang bang bang! At the same time, at the top of this void, bursts of 7-color energy, like the sky, were slowly born. The power of 7 colors. This is the only power for the evolution of the fighting spirit. Only by resisting the baptism of this power can one truly turn a cocoon into a butterfly. Xiaoyan's eyes became solemn. Although the immortal Minkyu was regarded as a top-level fighting spirit, its combat power was somewhat weak for Xiaoyan, who was a 4-star fighting immortal. At that time, with the addition of many blessings from the undying fire domain, I am afraid that Xiaoyan at that time, even if he did not use the swallowing technique, would still be able to achieve a real leapfrog battle. Boom! With a sound, all the energy of the 1,000 meters was swallowed up by the fighting spirit. At that time, the fighting spirit energy around Xiaoyan's body rolled, and there was a faint sound of dragon roaring and tiger roaring. Let's start. Xiaoyan with a dignified expression waved his hand, and immediately the fighting spirit completely fell off his body and turned into a silver undead sparrow. Although this guy still has a trace of wisdom, he is Xiaoyan mainly, so Xiaoyan didn't worry too much. Qi Cheng Qi! The violent energy around the immortal dwarf bird was obviously a harbinger of pre-evolution, and it roared at the 7-color energy in the sky, flashing 4-color flame energy all over its body, and directly turned into a 1,000-foot phantom. The speed skyrocketed, and suddenly it hits away. It must be successful. Xiaoyan couldn't help clenching his fists tightly as he looked at the undead ghost bird that gave his life a blow. Boom! The dazzling flames spread out like energy ripples, and immediately the undead ghost and the 7-color energy were tightly intertwined. The two did not show weakness for each other. Obviously for a while it's hard to tell. Gotcha! With a sound, a strange figure came out from nowhere, and a scorching flame suddenly spread out. At the same time, a scene that Xiaoyan was quite familiar with poured into his sight. This is the strange little beast in the ancient tree? Xiaoyan hurriedly looked at the giant pit below. The voice just now came from here, but at this time, the strange little beast was furry all over. A gray flame flickered on top of his fuzz, and at the same time, under the dark giant pit, a gray light like the sun burst out slowly. Wang buzzing. After a while, the khaki-yellow holy flame crystals in Xiaoyan's body, the cyan holy flame crystals became trembling for a while, and a violent and uneasy wave filled every sense of Xiaoyan. Holy flame spirit? With the appearance of this scene, Xiaoyan also ignored the evolution of the fighting spirit and lost his voice. At this time, countless gray flames filled the surroundings of the giant pit, and in the center, there was a woman who was about to touch a child, but between the woman's eyebrows, a mini version of gray prismatic crystals slowly emerged, and above the crystals, a strong wave that shocked Xiaoyan's whole body spread out. Little Zuoma is actually the spirit of immortal fire. A look of disbelief appeared in Xiaoyan's heart, and it persisted for a long time. Continuing from the previous episode 1677. This guy is actually the spirit of holy flame. Looking at the figures of the strange little beast and the little Zuoma, Xiaoyan couldn't help but be surprised. Naturally, he was still very surprised. After all, the gray flames on his body and the crystals on his forehead all exuded terrifying power. Even with Xiaoyan's current strength, he was still terrified. Wang buzzing. At this moment, the undead ghost fighting spirit bird Shadow was defeated by the 7-color energy attack. Even with the help of Xiaoyan's holy flame, it was still no match for the 7-color energy, the 7-color energy. The energy is unstoppable, and it descends like a punishment from heaven, causing the fighting spirit to continuously retreat. According to this state, it is only a matter of time before it is completely defeated, and once the fighting spirit is defeated, I am afraid that evolution is just nonsense. Hey! Just when Xiaoyan's hands and feet were in chaos for a while and there was no countermeasure, Xiao Zuoma opened his eyes slightly, a pair of gray eyes, constantly staring at the 7-color energy above the sky. Spread out. Boom! After a while, little Zuoma raised his palm and gently touched the gray crystals on his forehead. Immediately, a smear of gray liquid fell off, and then he waved his hand directly to the undead ghost fighting spirit who fell into the wind. Inject away. Chi Cheng Cheng. The undead dwarf bird, which had a disordered breath, was injected with this gray liquid, and the energy of countless feathers on its body seemed to be ignited, bursting out bright rays of light, and the energy above the body burned violently, frantically. He roared away at the 7-color energy, even if he killed himself like a moth to a flame. Boom boom boom. With a sound, the body of the undead Minkyu suddenly swelled, and immediately slammed into the 7-color energy. After the blink of an eye, the 7-color energy suddenly shrank, and the body of the fighting spirit turned into a gray light spot in the sky. Obviously he had completely fallen here, but what made Xiaoyan feel strange was that he had already devoured the fighting spirit and had completely fallen. Logically speaking, he should have been injured, but nothing has happened now. Damn it. Seeing this scene, Xiaoyan felt a tinge of disappointment in his heart. He didn't expect to waste so much time and energy in repairing the fighting spirit. In the end, the immortal ghost bird did not evolve successfully, but instead brought his fighting spirit with him. Wait, something's wrong. Just when Xiaoyan was shocked, countless gray light spots in this void actually gathered towards a certain place, and after a few breaths, the body of the immortal ghost bird it was condensed, but this time, the body and strength of the undead sparrow were more solid and powerful than the previous one, and even the dark gray lines that appeared on the body because it devoured the king of undead sparrow is also increasingly apparent. Those lines are gray, and they vaguely form a ferocious beast. If you look closely, it is actually an enlarged version of the little beast beside Xiao Zuoma. So, this is the true meaning of the undead fire. For a while, Xiaoyan also understood something, and immediately stopped worrying about the immortal ghost. He knew that now the fighting soul has a trace of the original power of the undead fire, and only through the constant transformation of death after adapting to the new power and repeating this, it was possible to completely break through and evolve into a true heavenly fighting soul. It's all just a matter of time. And his top priority right now is to immortalize the holy flame of fire. Junior Xiaoyan, the master of the 3 holy flames, came to the holy tan of undying fire this time, hoping to borrow undying fire from the senior. After mastering this fire, the younger generation will naturally be able to make a small contribution to the world. Seeing this, Xiaoyan clasped his fists and said respectfully to Xiao Zuoma, his voice extremely humble. If Xiaoyan's previous guess was correct, then the current Xiao Zuoma naturally cannot be inferred by common sense. Maybe under this petite body, there is a soul that has grown thousands or even tens of thousands of years. Respect Road. Fire Heart Tianyan, Ghost Face Soul Flame, Ethereal Ice Flame, Little Guy, really hidden. As Xiao Yan opened his mouth, Xiao Zuoma smiled like a ghost. At the time, he had come to Xiao Yan's side. Laughter filled Xiao Yan's side, but the power that filled his body was shocking. Senior. Seeing this, Xiao Yan's pressure increased, but he still respectfully said, "This little guy's laughter was as beautiful as the sounds of heaven, but the power of heaven and earth contained in it made Xiao Yan's body tremble uncontrollably. When I lost my memory before, thank you very much. If it wasn't for the two of you, once I fell into the hands of those guys, I'd be hard-pressed by the seal. And as the spirit of Holy Flame, if something happens, Holy Flame will not escape bad luck." Little Dolma said in a low voice. "Senior, what's going on here?" Xiao Yan asked immediately after listening to the words of the Holy Flame spirit. "Because of the Holy Flame and the threat of the Lord of Souls, my strength was lost and my memory was suppressed." Little Zuoma said slightly. "Master of the Soul?" Xiao Yan wondered. Before this, the undying fire had already fallen into the hands of the Lord of Li's soul. In order to regain the undying fire, I took the undying Saint Tan space to the Li soul domain. Some time ago, the Lord of the Soul unexpectedly sent the undying fire back. But he seems to have other holy flame fluctuations in him, and I guess he has other plans to send back the undead fire. Xiao Zuoma said since then, I was going to appease undying fire, wait for it to stabilize, and leave here, but unexpectedly encountered the joint attack of Xuanshan Temple, Demon Guard and Soul Temple at that time, so in order to protect Shengen, he can only temporarily separate his own power from Shengen, so there is a scene of amnesia, Little Dolma explained. I see. Xiao Yan suddenly felt relieved after listening to Xiao Zuoma's explanation. Senior. After a while, the corners of Xiao Yan's mouth became dry, and it was obvious that things that were not dying would have to be said sooner or later. I know the intention of your trip, and the fact that you can swallow 3 holy flames at the same time also shows that your strength is not bad. But I have already helped you once, the previous favor has been repaid, and the preciousness of immortal fire the degree, I'm afraid. Seeing Xiao Yan like this, Xiao Zuoma smiled sweetly, but her heart was also extremely entangled. Xiao Yan is carrying 3 holy flames on his body, and I am afraid that he can really step into the realm of the Great Thousand Worlds. Moreover, as the masters of the holy flames, they can naturally perceive that the cracks in the Great Thousand Worlds are constantly shattering, and I am afraid there will be more soon. The Second World War will begin completely. By that time, I am afraid. Quote. Xiao Yan grinned when he heard the words. Obviously Xiao Zuoma helped him to truly evolve the undead ghost. Never mind. I was taken care of by you before with amnesia, and then the undead king of the undead sparrow was also beheaded by you. This undead fire, it is not a bad idea for you to try it. Seeing Xiao Yan's unrepentant appearance, Xiao Zuoma smiled sweetly, and immediately said in a rather strange tone. Continuing from the previous episode 1678, Junior thanked the spirit of Holy Flame. Xiao Yan heard the words, unable to calm down for a long time, and said with trembling palms. Xiao Yan's soul force told himself that the strength of the Holy Flame spirit in front of him was unfathomable, and he was definitely not able to handle it. If this guy was protecting the Holy Flame, even if Xiao Yan tried his best, the odds of winning would be slim, but fortunately this guy did not in this way. Although you have several kinds of holy flames, your mission is also quite heavy. After a while, Xiao Zuoma said meaningfully. Since he is the master of the Holy Flame, the younger generation will naturally know. Xiao Yan smiled slightly, obviously the fire of immortality was in front of him, and it was difficult to hide his joy. Okay, not much nonsense. But do you know, what is the Holy Flame of undying fire? Looking at Xiao Yan in such a state, Xiao Zuoma smiled slightly. As for the little beast, it was quite docile and quietly crawling behind him. Quite ferocious, and the origin is extremely mysterious. Immortal fire, known as immortality and immortality, is the 17th ranked flame in the Holy Flame list in the Great Thousand Worlds. Xiao Yan responded slightly. Obviously even Xiao Yan's cognition and understanding of immortal fire are only limited to only this, but even so, it cannot stop the terrifying power of this holy flame. The holy tan of the undying fire is the habitat of the undying fire. When the top 20 holy flames in the holy flame list are born, they will turn the space of 100 miles into dust, so they need a special space to carry their destructive power. As the spirit of holy flame, I am a human chosen by the undead fire, and I am responsible for guarding it from generation to generation, because it also gives me the mysterious power of immortality and immortality. There are many treasures in the holy tan of the undying. Every time it is opened, it will bring a large number of plunderers. In addition, there is the king of the undying sparrow at the core of the holy tan of undying. He entered here by chance and coveted undying fire, so the five-finger mountain formation and towering ancient trees surrounding the holy flame were set up by me to protect the holy flame. The fire of immortality is the fire of heaven and earth. After controlling it, it can be immortal and immortal. Xiao Zuoma explained patiently. Immortal? Indestructible? Xiao Yan heard the words, and immediately spoke with a sigh of relief. The words immortality and immortality seemed to contain great magic power, which was far beyond Xiao Yan's understanding. Immortal and inextinguishable is the true meaning of undead fire, but I have guarded it for thousands of years, and I haven't fully understood it. I hope you can crack it. Xiao Zuoma shook his head and said. Yes. Xiao Yan nodded solemnly. Come out. As soon as the voice fell, a gleam of brilliance appeared on the palm of Xiao Zuoma's palm, and suddenly in the dark giant pit below, a gray giant egg with crystal silver and antimony transparent slowly emerged. Peefed puff. As the gray giant egg appeared in front of Xiao Yan's body, Fenju and Sheng Yan's heart were beating violently. The power of the heart palpitations came from the giant egg in front of him. What is stored here is the immortal fire. Little Zuoma looked at the gray dome in front of him with complicated eyes and said. The gray dome is oval in shape as a whole, with mysterious lines on it like dragon-shaped phoenix tails, which set it off like an ancient creature, but it was this fluctuation that made Xiao Yan's heart tremble. In this dome, there is immortal fire. It is the immortal fire that is said to be immortal. In this place, there is the fire of immortality. Seeing Xiao Yan's fiery gaze, Xiao Zuoma spoke again. Immortal fire. Xiao Yan heard the words, the corners of his mouth could not help becoming dry, and immediately above the palm, khaki and cyan holy flame crystals emerged at the same time. Searching for the holy flame is a major event, and after finding the holy flame, the only way to devour the holy flame is to obtain the holy flame's approval and obtain the holy flame crystal. These three steps are indispensable, and it is enough to spend hundreds of years for a strong person to find the holy flame, not to mention the qualification of swallowing the holy flame. And most importantly, how many human beings can endure the inhuman torture that they will experience in the middle of swallowing the holy flame? It is these many predicaments that have created the supreme status of Sheng Yan. You already have 3 holy flames. I don't need to say more about the others, right? Seeing Xiao Yan's move, Xiao Zuoma did not stop him. Undying fire. Damaged? After a while, Xiao Yan's figure approached the gray dome, but suddenly asked. I have no idea. I have guarded it for thousands of years, but since the Lord of the Soul returned it to me, I found that it didn't seem to be right, but once I checked, the source of holy flame was not damaged, so I can only use it. It is temporarily sealed here, and this is also to protect it. Little Dolma wondered, could it be that the Lord of Li Soul did something to it? For example, this is a fake holy flame? Xiao Yan frowned. Impossible. Holy flames are wonders of heaven and earth. Except for the top-ranked artifacts in the world and the powerhouses who have stepped into the highest realm, no one can shake them. And even the Lord of Li Soul can't forge or even destroy it. I think the undead fire should have been frightened or fell into a deep sleep. Xiao Zuoma's delicate face shook slightly and shook her head. Hey, no matter what, I really have a relationship with you. After some inquiries were fruitless, Xiao Yan also gave up the inquiry and said directly to the gray dome in front of him with a smile. Go ahead. Undying fire is different from other holy flames. Once it is recognized, the holy flame crystal will fall off my forehead. At that time, you will be qualified to swallow. As for whether you can succeed or not, it depends on your personal fortune. Little Dolma's little finger pointed at the holy flame crystal on her forehead and smiled. In terms of fighting spirit, I hope Senior can help me take care of 1 or 2. Xiao Yan must be grateful. Xiao Yan said solemnly, well, let's go. As soon as the voice fell, Xiao Zuoma suddenly flicked his fingers, and Xiao Yan's figure instantly disappeared into the gray dome. Little guy, do you think it will be successful? Looking at the fighting spirits in the sky that are constantly being destroyed and reborn, little Zuoma smiled while stroking his face. Jump! For a while, at the bottom of the void, a green figure suddenly stepped on some branches and made a sound. Broken. The Heisha dragon wolf just wanted to follow Xiao Yan into the gray dome, but was rejected by him and couldn't enter it. He wanted to get closer to the dome to find out, but he was not careful and made a sound. Boom boom boom. Little Zuoma's gentle eyes became fierce, and a gray chain of fire roared away at him. Hey! The Heishan Longling shook his head helplessly, and immediately his body turned into a green light and disappeared here. A clone. You can run fast, but this power doesn't seem to be the breath of humans and ghosts. Monster World Powerhouse? With the disappearance of this guy, Xiao Zuoma couldn't help but wonder. At this moment, Xiao Yan just overcame many obstacles and entered the final step of the immortal fire. Continuing from the previous episode 1679, Xiao Yan was naturally ignorant of the outside world, because at this time Xiao Yan had already crossed the holy temple of the Undying and entered the interior of the Grey Dome, the so-called place where the fire of undead exists. Wang buzzing. Just as Xiao Yan rushed into this place, bursts of gray halos appeared, filling Xiao Yan's line of sight, making Xiao Yan's perception limited, but his senses involuntarily became vigilant. This gray dome is actually a small space. Xiao Yan was filled with gray halo and couldn't open his eyes, but after sensing it, he said slightly. After a few breaths, the halo dissipated, and Xiao Yan could see the whole scene here. This is a circular space about a few hundred meters in size. Except for a mysterious creature in the center, the rest of the space is empty. Then, is that immortal fire? Xiao Yan's eyes shrank tightly when he saw the inconspicuous light in the center, and even his soul trembled involuntarily. It was a ball of light about the size of a slap. There were traces of gray lines on the light group. These gray lines were like the divine lines that the Supreme One meditated on. They contained mysterious and unpredictable power, and even gray flames under the gray lines. It is extremely dim, as if it will go out at any time. This thing is immortal fire, but why is the power of flames so dim? What's the matter? With Xiao Yan's perception of the holy flame and many factors in his body, he immediately affirmed that the gray flame in front of him was immortal fire, but the power of the flame seems to be inferior to that of a big heavenly seed. What is going on here? Hey! The gray light group seemed to sense that someone had entered the void here, and ripples of gray energy slowly spread out. This guy, in the end. Seeing the appearance of the undying fire, Xiao Yan shook his head. It was obvious that the fluctuations released by the undying fire were too weak, and even his own great celestial seed Fei Yan was not as powerful. Come out. Watching this scene, Xiao Yan had no choice but to hold the two Saint Flame crystals in his hands temporarily. Boom! It seemed that he was provoked by the holy flame crystal on Xiao Yan's palm, and it seemed that he wanted to swallow two holy flame crystals. The gray flame instantly changed from a critically ill state to a surging posture, and the endless gray flame instantly turned this place into a lava world, and the immortal fire also turned into a lava, which is high and below zero, and it is eyeing. Hey, I didn't expect you to be so smart. Showing weakness makes people take it lightly, so as to tempt humans to devour themselves, so that all of their own power burst out at that moment, and they can easily devour others. Can't stop laughing. Fortunately, I just held back and didn't take advantage of the undead fire to pretend to be weak and go to swallow it, otherwise the end would be tantamount to falling. Boom boom boom. With a sound, the flames around the undead fire became dazzling, and bursts of gray light roared out like a world-annihilating torch. Horror fluctuations. Bang bang bang. It seems that Xiao Yan saw through his little trick. The origin of the undead fire gray magma burst out with a very terrifying violent aura, and countless gray magma appeared all over the body. Without any hesitation, it directly faced Xiao Yan. Blast away. Fire heart heavenly rock, shattered heavenly burial. With a cold snort, the khaki yellow holy flame crystals burst out with dazzling brilliance, and countless khaki yellow flames condensed in front of Xiao Yan, blocking the erosion of the gray lava. It's not enough. Seeing that although the rock-shattered heavenly burial blocked the attack of the undying fire, it was extremely slow, but Xiao Yan understood that the 35th ranked Sheng Yan would definitely not be able to resist the 17th ranked Undying Fire. After a while, the ghost-faced soul flame cyan-colored holy flame crystal also erupted with bursts of cyan liquid, and immediately poured into the surface of the rock fragmentation burial. In an instant, a terrifying fireball like a sky curtain completely enveloped Xiao Yan. Wang buzzing. Seeing this, the gray magma burst out with a monstrous aura, and immediately suppressed Xiao Yan. This space is the resting place of the immortal fire. Here, its strength is infinitely magnified, and Xiao Yan's two holy flames are quite weak. In addition, their own strength is weak, and they fell into a disadvantage for a while. Hey! For a time, sweat appeared on Xiao Yan's forehead, apparently urging the source of Shengen for a long time. For Xiao Yan, the load was not small. The power of the source of the two holy flames, that kind of consumption is staggering. Peefed. Just when Xiao Yan was a little out of strength and was about to be defeated by the undead fire, an ancient red ring hidden in his body gently fell from Xiao Yan's body. Pimple pimple. At the same time, with the appearance of this ring, the entire void became quiet. Not good. Seeing this, Xiao Yan was stunned in a hurry, and with a touch of soul power, he tried to walk away towards the ring. Xiao Yan didn't know why the ring would fall out uncontrollably at this time, but this ring was the Emperor Flame Ring, given to him by the ancient Emperor Tuosh who had just arrived in a different world. The power and mystery contained in this ring, with Xiao Yan's current power, cannot be explored in the slightest, but Xiao Yan has always believed that this thing is definitely the key to finding the ancient Emperor Tuosh in the future, so this time his expression's so nervous. Even if the Emperor Yan ring is strong and mysterious, and is burned by the immortal fire that ranks 17th on the sacred flame ranking, it will probably turn to ashes. Bang bang bang! The undead fire gray magma jumped suddenly, and the fist-sized liquid directly enveloped the Emperor Yan ring. Bastard! Xiao Yan was in a hurry, couldn't help scolding. If anything happened to this ring, I'm afraid it would be more difficult for him to find the ancient Emperor Tuosh in the future. And according to Xiao Yan's guess, the Golden Dragon King and Tuosh Gudi have such a good relationship. Tuoshiguni is probably the real peak of existence in the world. If there is no such assistance, it will be a great loss to himself. Wang buzzing. But a scene that Xiao Yan did not expect appeared. Just after the undead fire gray magma source wrapped the Emperor Flame Ring, the power of the undead fire that had always been tyrannical suddenly decreased rapidly, and that power was pouring into the Emperor Flame Ring at an appalling speed. After a few breaths, Xiao Yan's pressure was greatly reduced, and the threat of immortality to him gradually disappeared, but he just watched the Emperor Yanji in the void that was constantly becoming weak, and even his whole body became ruddy. Wondered, what is the origin of this thing? With the appearance of this scene, Xiao Yan also felt relieved, but because of the Emperor Yan's ring, Immortal Fire's assessment of Xiao Yan was easy to pass, and the next step was the real Devoured. However, Xiao Yan did not notice that when the Emperor Yanji became ruddy, a mighty coercion from the heavens and the earth permeated. From this coercion, Xiao Yan's forehead and even the three holy flames in his body emanated. A very humble respect. This wave of fluctuations is like a master, like the sky. It is daunting and awe-inspiring.